stars pulsed in unnatural rhythms that night. Across dimensions and galaxies, ancient forces stirred with curiosity and concern. Eternia, ever radiant with the power of Grayskull, trembled as a rift tore through the sky above Castle Grayskull itself. Within moments, it closed silent, invisible to all except the sorceress. Her eyes widened as she clutched the edge of her scrying pool. What she had seen was not a vision, it was a portal, and through it came something alive. Meanwhile, in the heart of the thunder ruined on Third Earth, the Sword of Omens flared awake without warning. Lemno, Lord of the Thundercats, stirred in his chamber, jolted by the sudden energy that hummed through his blade. He rushed to it and raised the sword. Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight. Flashes struck him visions of a vast, alien world, a power not unlike his own. A warrior clad in bronze and muscle, lifting a sword as ancient as his own. And then, a flash of the very portal that had been opened on Eternia. Something or someone was calling. The Eye of Thundera locked onto the cosmic coordinates. And so, with the Thundercats' blessing and Panthro's help, Liono stepped into the dimensional gate. Aboard a modified vehicle made to withstand space and time distortion. What lay beyond would test not just his strength, but his very purpose as a leader. Back on Eternia, Prince Adam stood alone in the Whispering Woods, wrestling with the vision the sorceress had sent him. A warrior was coming, one who carried a blade of truth, one who would either be an ally or a threat. As he held the sword of power, he whispered the sacred words. By the power of Grayskull, I have the power. The blast of transformation echoed across the land, and He-Man emerged, his voice like thunder, his body glowing with the ancient magic of Grayskull. From the woods, Battlecat growled low. He-Man, something's coming. And it did. Like a comet from the stars, the vehicle carrying Liono pierced through Eternia's skies and crash-landed near the plains of Perpetua. As the dust settled, the young lord emerged, sword drawn, eyes scanning the terrain. He could feel it, this world was brimming with energy. Unfamiliar, yet oddly resonant with the Eye of Thundera. Their meeting was not delayed. From opposite hills they approached, their towering frames casting long shadows across the plains. He-Man stood steady, sword of power in hand. Liono approached, the Eye of Thundera glowing red at its core. Who are you? He-Man asked. I am Liono, Lord of the Thundercats. I followed a surge of power and a potential threat. He-Man's brow furrowed. This world is protected. If you've come with war, I came for truth. Liono cut in. But I won't back down if I'm challenged. For a moment, both warriors paused. Neither was quick to anger, but both had lived through betrayal, magic, and war. The swords they held were not mere weapons. They were conduits of power, legacies of forgotten gods and ancient forces. And now, these legacies stood on a collision course. The sorceress watched in solemn silence, perched high above Grayskull's towers. These two, so alike. Both chosen, both burdened. Yet the clash is inevitable. And far away, in the darkness of Eternia's forgotten dungeons, Skeletor watched as well. Through his own arcane methods, he too saw the convergence of He-Man and this Liono. A twisted smile curled on his lips. Let the fools fight, he hissed. And when they are weakened, I will claim both swords for myself. Back on the plains, a strange pulse washed through the air, remnant of the dimensional rift, and with it came confusion. The Eye of Thundera flickered, showing Liono a vision of He-Man striking down an army. The Sword of Power pulsed in response, sending He-Man a vision of Liono surrounded by shadows, his blade glowing as the center of destruction. Deception had taken root. Without fully understanding, both warriors prepared themselves for a duel that seemed destined. Last chance to stand down, Liono said, his muscles tense beneath his armor. He-Man raised his blade. I don't back down when Eternia is threatened. And as the wind roared and magic stirred, two champions, each noble in heart and mighty, in power advanced toward each other with the fury of gods. But in the shadows, the true enemy laughed, for it was not victory that would satisfy him. Chaos. The sky above the plains of Perpetua turned storm gray, as if the very heavens braced for what was to come. He-Man stood firm, his sword shimmering with the power of Grayskull. Every muscle on his massive frame was taut, his eyes locked on his opponent. Across from him, Lion-O tightened his grip on the Sword of Omens. The Eye of Thundera pulsed like a beating heart, sensing the clash of cosmic wills about to unfold. Without a word, they charged. Their swords collided with a thunderous clang that sent shockwaves across the plain, uprooting grass and cracking stone. He-Man, stronger by nature, pushed Lion-O back with raw brute force. But the Lord of the Thundercats was faster. He pivoted mid-fall, rolling to the side and slashing upward in a smooth arc that grazed He-Man's bracer, slicing a shallow groove into the enchanted metal. He-Man grunted, impressed. "You're fast." Lion-O's eyes flared. "And you're strong. But strength isn't everything." He launched into a series of acrobatic strikes, feints, flips, and jabs that forced He-Man to retreat. Each blow from Lion-O wasn't just physical. It was guided by the mystical Eye of Thundera, which read He-Man's moves, predicting them. He-Man ducked one strike, deflected the next, but Lion-O landed a solid kick to the side of his head that sent the defender of Eternia staggering. Battle Cat roared from the hilltop, pacing anxiously, but respecting his master's decision to fight alone. He-Man planted his foot into the earth and stood tall. By the power of Grayskull, he drove his sword into the ground, causing a tremor that split the field in two. Lion-O jumped high, his sword above his head. Midair, he channeled the full power of the Eye. Ho! The cry rang through the land as the Sword of Omens expanded with blinding energy. Lion-O came down like a comet of righteous fire. He-Man reached up with both hands and caught the incoming blade between his gauntlets, the enchanted metal sparking violently. He twisted, using Lion-O's momentum against him, and flung the younger warrior across the battlefield. Lion-O crashed into a boulder, cracking it in two. Lion-O rose quickly, his lip bloodied but his spirit unshaken. He rushed again, this time not with aggression, but with purpose. Their swords met once more, steel clashing with steel, energy slamming into energy. Each warrior fought not to kill, but to test, to challenge, and overcome. But the battle wore on. Both began to feel the cost. Lion-O's breaths came in short bursts, his feline agility slowing under the relentless onslaught. He-Man, too, showed fatigue, the drain of channeling. Grayskull's power against such a persistent opponent. The final exchange came without warning. Lion-O swept low, ducked a horizontal swing, and stabbed toward He-Man's side. He-Man turned with supernatural speed and brought his elbow down on Lion-O's wrist. The Sword of Omens fell. In one smooth motion, He-Man disarmed him and raised his blade. Lion-O froze, stunned, his weapon lost, his instincts dulled. But He-Man did not strike. Instead, he placed the sword of power at Lion-O's throat and said, voice calm but commanding, "Yield." Lion-O looked up, chest heaving. His pride burned, but so did his respect. Slowly, he nodded. "I yield." He-Man stepped back and lowered his sword. "You are a great warrior. I hope we never have to do that again." Lion-O chuckled breathlessly and offered his hand. "Agreed. Next time, we talk first." They clasped arms, warrior to warrior. Far in the shadows, Skeletor snarled. His plan had failed. Unity had been forged instead of destruction. The chaos he desired had given birth to alliance. And so, amidst cracked stone and scorched soil, He-Man stood victorious, not just in battle, but in honor.